Greetings, sailors, and welcome to a carrier game. Plus, don't hate me, except, you know, I can already feel people's mouse cursors darting for the dislike button, but never mind. I actually have recorded this one because I thought it was actually quite a good game, despite me being in a carrier. There was a nice bit of team play going on, especially at the end. And also, in a way, it's kind of useful for me to have some critique on my carrier play, because I'm not very good at carriers. And I don't really know if this is a particularly good result or not. There's certainly some not particularly spectacular moments in terms of drops that I make. I've definitely still continue to be caught out by the change to rocket planes. I try and keep it in mind, but quite often I still manage to get it wrong. And it's actually with the Royal Navy carriers that they are the least affected. They have, I think, the shortest MG spray time compared to some of the other nations. But even so, it does still manage to trip me up a bit sometimes. I think there probably could be a slightly clearer visual indicator that yes, you've clicked, yes, the attack is commencing, like something like the reticle changing colour, or you know, for that portion of the drop. But anyway, I know I'm not the only one that's had moments of forgetting and clicking and then wondering why nothing's happening, and then, oh yeah, wait, the machine gun spray. One thing I have done with this is a bit experimental. I've basically sped up all of the portions where it's just the planes flying to target, which has trimmed a significant amount of time from this replay. So I don't know how this is going to look as a final result. It's definitely a bit experimental, but I guess we shall find out. It's certainly cut down the amount of filler I have to come up with for all those moments when it's just the planes flying back and forth. So this is a not fully tier 10 game. There are tier 8s in play, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't really have any particularly great targets to go for right now. It's two big blobs of AA on the enemy team, so nothing is especially attractive at the moment, and so I am more concentrating on this side, even though the Minnesota itself does have quite good AA for a battleship. You can certainly see what it's doing to my planes at the moment. The fact there's a Cleveland nearby isn't helping either, but they're still one of the more isolated targets, and being a slower ship, they're a bit easier for me to aim my torpedoes, although that was not the best drop right there. Might get that last one off. There we go. The real power in the Audacious is probably those bombers, but I think I do get a fair bit of damage with the torpedoes in this one as well. It's just if you can manage to stack fires on people with the bombers, just because you drop so many of them and actually gives you a pretty decent chance of setting a fire, then you can obviously burn out those big fat battleships for quite a bit of damage. But I wasn't really doing that in this one. I wasn't going after the same targets over and over again, apart from that Minnesota a bit later on. We'll definitely revisit them. So yeah, I clicked a little bit too late there, but I still managed to get a very healthy 7k in the superstructure. It's better almost to aim a bit too much over than a bit too much under, because if you're aiming under, you're just going to have your rocket smack into the side of the hull and not do anything. Whereas if you go over and it's a ship that has decent sized superstructure, then you can at least have a chance of doing something. So I could have gone back for that Missouri to try and pin some fires on them, but instead I'm going for this Minnesota again. I guess just because it's easier to line up these bombers with the Minnesota than the Missouri. So there's some hits, 2 fires that time, not a huge amount of damage, but I'm up to already over 50k, which is not too bad. I'm also now moving over to this eastern side of the map because that's where the vast majority of my team is. I did initially try and help out more towards the A cap and was able to disrupt an enemy destroyer's chances of getting in early to cap, but that didn't really amount to much in terms of control on this side. This drop, by the way, this drop's just embarrassingly bad. Des Moines tucked in right behind the island. I kind of knew they were there and I could have taken a bit of extra time, circled round, actually had a chance of getting them, and instead yeah, I kind of half dropped on the island and the other half of the torps were never going to hit, so that wasn't so great. So enemy team now have a bunch of ships that have been pushed out of the sea cap. We have some of our ships chasing. I am still more focused on the mid and west though, and I don't know if this was the right idea. Maybe I should have been sending planes down south to try and spot those enemy destroyers. But I obviously decided that it would be more use if I could weaken or even kill some ships coming in from the west, because that centre cap is going to prove to be key. At the moment, the enemy team has, of course, got 2 of the 3 cap circles, and they still, I mean, they're behind on ships, but they still have enough numbers that our team trying to push in there could meet some serious problems. So, yeah, it felt at the time like the better thing to be doing, but I don't know if it necessarily was the better thing to be doing. This Minnesota, though, this is the moment when I'm talking about that they are now off on their own and are therefore the most attractive target. I've also managed to get them burning. I'm not entirely sure if they had let that fire go just because they knew they could repair it, or if they didn't have damage control, but either way, a bit more damage for me. So a bit of dodging and weaving there before I make my attack run. Starting to run low on planes. I maybe should have done more safety drops than I was doing at the start of this one. Like I say, I'm not very good at carriers. It might possibly show. There we go, I actually got flooding there, but he has damage controlled that, so it's possible the fire earlier they just let run because it was less dangerous. A single fire with the amount of health they had left was certainly not going to cause them too many issues. Our team is pretty spread out at the moment. We've got this almost big line of ships going down the 7-8 verticals and some fairly defensively placed ships around the middle, and the numbers are actually starting to narrow quite significantly in terms of the ships in play. And we also do now have that points gap opening up a bit now that we're losing more ships. Now, this wasn't intended as a kill steal, it's just I was lining up for the Missouri, someone hit them fairly hard and I'd already committed to the drop at that point, so oh well. But a kill certainly isn't going to hurt my score screen. So what's left? Well, 2 battleships, the carrier and that destroyer that's down south. We have cleared out the middle so that potentially the Benham could cap, and that Benham is going to have proved to be one of our key players in this game. The 2 cruisers that are more to the south are in a bit of an awkward position. They can't really disengage, especially the Des Moines. The Des Moines is going to end up with a good score out of this, but they have put themselves in a position where they are going to get sunk a lot sooner rather than later. The Talon might be able to disengage if the focus is on that Des Moines, so maybe at least one of them will get away. The Bayard was the only survivor from the group of ships to the west, and they've spent a lot of time just running and trying to stay alive. So I completely misjudged how fast the Yamato was going with the first drop, but I was able to bring them around for a second drop there, and they do a bit better. I hit all 3 of those and get a flooding, and that puts me over 100k. The flooding has stuck as well, And given that the Yamato's continuing to take damage, it's actually my flooding that gets the kill. So that just leaves the Dogrosa and the enemy carrier left, but we don't have a lot of hit points left on our team. In fact, I am by far the healthiest ship left. So rockets on the Dogrosa, and again I aimed a little over, but again big battleship superstructure meant that I actually managed to land hits and pin a fire. And I'm actually spotting for the Benham at the moment as well, because they're in smoke. So hopefully this pass should do it. It's a slightly better aimed drop. And there we go, that's the kill.
We destroyed an enemy.
All that's left at this stage is the enemy carrier. But we're running down on points, and we have a lot of very unhealthy ships left. So now I have to start more seriously caring about my teammates and actually putting fighters over people, which I kind of haven't done up until now. I think I've put one fighter down over somebody to try and protect them, but the Benham was specifically asking. I recognised the need, and it was obviously the sensible thing to do. So there we go, fighter over the Benham, and now I really don't have much left to do except go attack this Immelman directly. Fortunately for me, they're going to take up a rather static position. They're trying to protect themselves from... Yes, hello Sam. Trying to protect themselves from any fire from the Talon or the Bayar. And... Do you really have to do that right now, Samuel? Yeah, apparently Samuel is about as impressed that I'm doing a carrier game as no doubt some of you are. But yeah, so yeah, the woman's just taking cover behind the island, and I think I either have just or am basically saying, you know, come close to me, I've got the health, I've got the AA. And that obviously, you know, I can't do anything about the Talon. I could try and divert planes down there to put a fighter over them, but they're low enough health that even with fighters up, you're still going to get one strike. It's just going to mean that the planes coming out of that strike end up getting obliterated, as you can see exactly here. So I can't really do much for that Talon. I can't effectively protect them when they're a bigger ship with low health. Something like the Benham, it's going to be a bit easier because they have a better capacity to dodge. But yeah. Now the Talon's gone down. We are still ahead on points, and with the caps, the fact that we have these other ships left alive, that's going to be enough to make this a win. But it's been quite a close game. And as I was saying at the start, I don't really... I look back at this and I think, okay, damage-wise, I think I did okay. I've got 3 kills. But could I have been a better team player in this one? I'm really not sure. So I will definitely be interested to hear what the more seasoned carrier players that might watch this would potentially think. So we didn't get to kill the Immelman, but I was able to, at least at the end, I think, contribute towards that being a win. And the damage, I think, was probably not too bad either. So there we go. Benham, Des Moines, Bay are actually top 3 on the team. Talon was in the 5th place. That felt like a decent result. And from what I understand, this is regarded as the weakest of the aircraft carrier lines overall. So I guess this was an okay game in the Audacious? I don't know. Now, I've just slipped this in to show that this is still stock Audacious. People that know the Audacious will have realised from the planes that it was. And I've also stuck my captain skills up on the screen. Is that a good loadout? I don't know. I hope it's not a terrible loadout, but someone will let me know if it is. They'll point and laugh and go, oh my god, Jedi, you noob, you're using such and such a skill on a carrier, why would you do such a thing? But hopefully that's not the case. But who knows? So anyway, that is it for this replay. Something a bit different. And if you enjoyed it, well, you can do all these usual things down underneath the video. If you disenjoyed it, that's a word, you can obviously hit that dislike button. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.